The Lord be with you. A reading from the Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon, and behold, a Canaanite woman of that district came and called out, "Have pity on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." But he did not say a word in answer to her. His disciples came and asked him, "Send her away, for she keeps calling out after us." Jesus said in reply, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But the woman came and did him homage, saying, "Lord, help me." He said in reply, "It is not right to take the food of the children and throw it to the dogs." She said, "Please, Lord, even the dogs eat the scraps that fall from the table of their masters." Then Jesus said to her in reply, "O woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish." And the daughter was healed from that hour. This is the good news of our salvation. Matthew is telling us about an excursion of Jesus. Tyre and Sidon are north of Galilee, and they belong to the Syrian kingdom at that time. And as we learn in today's passage, they were populated by what we would call pagans, or in the terminology of the New Testament, the Gentiles, who worship gods, did not accept the Mosaic law, or that God was one, Yahweh, worshipped by the Jews. And there was conflict between the two, as there is conflict even today in that area. They did not respect one another many times. They were prejudiced. And so they didn't associate with one another. The Jews themselves would not drink water from a cup of the Canaanites. And they went into their houses or homes. It would be a sign of infidelity to their religious traditions. And so Jesus perhaps was on a vacation, traveling up there, because he was spending much energy and time in his apostolate, preaching the kingdom of God in his own territory of Galilee. And then this woman comes up to him, and she is desperate. This is something that we find in the New Testament, especially in Jesus' earthly ministry, and that is parents expressing their love for their children. And so she overcomes her prejudice against the Jews, and she accepts this faith healer that she had heard about, because she had no choice. How was she going to save the pearl of great price in her life? Someone that she would sacrifice for, and she did not hesitate to humble herself before Jesus. And therefore she was persistent, even though she did not share his religious beliefs. And as she was persistent, she became an annoyance to the followers of Jesus who were accompanying him. And then he shocks us with the answer, the first answer. I only came to take care of my Jewish compatriots. And I'm not going to use something of God to those who do not even believe in him and are prejudiced against us. But that was to provoke, to stimulate this woman to express her deep love for her daughter. And so he says, I will not give the food of the children to dogs. And she says, even the dogs get the food, the scraps that fall off the table of their masters. And so when Jesus saw this faith, that she overcame all her prejudice because of her desperation and the positive love she had for her daughter, he said, your faith is extraordinary. It reminds us of another non-Jew who was a Roman officer in the army in Palestine, and his slave was deathly ill on the verge of dying. But he had been good to the local Jewish community and even built them a synagogue. And so he asked them to intercede with Jesus to cure this servant of his, whom he respected and who he appreciated. But he said something that really touched Jesus. He said, I have authority, and I say to some, go, and others to come. So I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Only say the word, and my servant will be healed. And Jesus was moved by this non-Jew and his understanding of Jesus' power coming from his Father. And therefore, he said, I have not found such great faith among the Jews, my compatriots. And so, from that hour, Jesus did as the centurion asked. And the servant of the centurion was cured. There is another interesting parallel in the Gospels, and that is the cure of the daughter of Jairus. Jesus this time went to the house of Jairus, who was Jewish, and his young daughter was 12 years old, and she had died. But when Jesus came with Peter, James, and John, he said, she is not dead, she is sleeping. And the neighbors and friends who were mourning for the girl laughed at him. But then he told them to leave, and he took the young girl by the hand and raised her and gave her back to her parents who had lost her. Give her something to eat, he said. And what do we have here? That Jesus, the Sacred Heart, has sympathy, compassion for us in the midst of our suffering, in the midst of our disasters, in the midst of our failures, especially with regard to love for one another. The Canaanite woman, the centurion and his slave, and Jairus and his wife for their daughter, who they died. Jesus is interested not only in us as individuals, he's interested in us through our relationship with others, because he loves not only us, he loves those whom we love the way we love them.